Good morning again. A little longer today. Every time that we tap something, it did what it's not supposed to do. First of all, who are we and what are we? This is Mirror Television, Affairs from the Hart, because we broadcast daily from the White Hart, the famous hotel in the middle of Lewis, on the east coast, well, almost the east coast of East Sussex in the United Kingdom. We got that right, just in case you think we come from anywhere else. Now we always try to kick off with something interesting and special. What shall we kick off with today? I think that yes, let's do the new logo. Oh, there we are. That's our new little logo. I hope you like it. You'll have to get used to it. Now we'll do what we always do. We'll just take a look at the headlines and what's going on out there. The newspaper headlines, that is. A little review of what our colleagues are saying. Okay. And we also say hello to everybody who is actually tuned in this morning. I hope you enjoy being with us. We are doing our very best to keep things cracking. And in this Jubilee, what we should be doing is we should be making it a little bit. Shouldn't we? He says, right. What are we after this week? It's Jubilee week. We don't even have only 3 weeks to work. So what's the fuss all about? It's the Queen's 75th anniversary, known as a platinum anniversary, and the whole country will lock down on Monday or Thursday and Friday, I think, for a whole host of celebrations. But this is what it's really all about to begin with. Okay, that's what it's all about, and what we're looking at this week. But okay, let's do the newspaper review. Let's get the nitty gritty over with first. All the disappointments that have built up over this last few days and a few weeks. And the Daily Express goes with calls to fine patients who miss GP visits. Well, this is all very good, and I do understand. To me, that there are a couple of flaws in this argument of let's fine people for not showing up at the NHS, which is a big monolithic organisation. But basically, at the moment, you are sent by computer a letter which says, "Don't forget your, don't rotate your foot, don't rotate your foot." Oh, it's Monday morning, as you can well tell. But essentially, if you want to go to anything to do with the Jubilee, if I can find it, here is something that's on sale. My good friend Mick Symes was flogging it again on Saturday morning, and it's one of those things that if we can just find it. Yeah. Would you believe it? Oh, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but nothing is coming readily at hand. It's been a disaster of moving. Let's just look at just Max. I've never been to Lewis before.
Today, I'm in a small town called Lewis, in the south of England, just a few miles away from Brighton. I will be taking a walk through Lewis and some of the historical sites, which date back over 1,000 years in this show, Hidden in Plain Sight. One of the best things to do in Lewis is explore the streets, as there is lots of historic Twittons to explore and look through. The high street is packed with small and independent shops, and there are plenty of pubs and restaurants to choose from. Lewis Castle was built just after the Norman conquest in 1066. The construction of the castle was started in 1068 and only took 2 years to complete. A war broke out below Lewis Castle, a war between Simon de Montfort, Earl of Leicester, and Henry III in 1264. Lewis is well known for its history, and one of the historical landmarks is a place called the White Hart Hotel. Whilst not being so obvious at first sight, it has a significant role to play in American history. Thomas Paine was an English-born American political activist, philosopher, and revolutionary. He authored books called Common Sense in 1776 and The American Crises in 1776 to 1783, two of the most influential books in American history, and had a major part to play in the start of the American Revolution. And it helped inspire the Americans in 1776 to declare independence from Great Britain. Thomas Paine also wrote a book called The Rights of Man, which is referred to as a cornerstone to modern-day democracy, and it all started in the small town of Lewes in a room in the White Hart Hotel. But Lewes is not just known for its history, it's also known for its natural beauty. In the Greater Lewes area, there are some beautiful rolling hills and hiking trails that you can just walk through for miles, and whilst on these trails you can truly appreciate the beauty of the English countryside. The River Ouse is one of the longest rivers in the country and goes through Lewes. It's a beautiful sight to see and is home to many different species of fish. Lewes has so many different trails to choose from. It can take you all through the town, fields and hills. I would personally recommend Marlingdown Nature Reserve and the Lewes Downs, as you can stand atop of the hills and see for miles, which is a sight to behold and one you don't get to see that often. You've been watching Mirador TV and this show, Hidden in Plain Sight by Max Hurd. Thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.
Well, there we are. That's the interesting thing about that little video is that it was taken with fresh eyes. Max had not been to Lewis in any substantive way, and so he went out with his camera and he shot that, and came back and really before he even edited the piece, said how beautiful our little town is, and indeed was. Right, okay, let's go back to the newspapers. The Times. Millions warn of power cuts. So warnings now are that we may have a winter coming up in which our power supplies will be cut. And the reason being is that Russia is cutting back on the amount of its supplies. They're putting the boot on the other foot. We very gaily said we'll show them to go to war. We'll actually turn it into a war. People can come and they can sit and they can talk at the White Hart. It's a wonderfully friendly hotel in that sense. But we do try to bring you an essence of what the hell is going on in most of the world, most of the rest of the country. I said at the start of using sanctions that quite often it's the sanction. It's all right. Come on in. Good to see you. We said at the beginning of the series that if you impose sanctions, you have to be very careful, because 9 times out of 10, the people who impose a sanction find that it bites them in the bottom far more than it does the people that they're trying to have a go at. So what's the result? The intended target, who's got so much gas and fuel that they don't know what to do with it, is saying, we may not be able to give you all that you want. You are, after all, at war with us. So it's a very stiff point, a very difficult issue to come to grips with. What is the best? Right, okay, the Financial Times, it says that it is joining forces with central banks throughout the world to try and find a formula to conquer inflation. We've never been in this situation before. The banks are supposed to be the organization that tries to keep the economy healthy and at least even still an even keel. And unfortunately, they seem to have been asleep at the switch, all of them. So there are some 30 or 40 central banks just in our spitting distance who have had to find that they have not been able to operate the way that they should operate. But it's the central banks that are supposed to be able to work towards curbing inflation, and they do it by increasing interest rates, which makes money more expensive, and that reflects around all sorts of different things. So here we are at 10:21, looking at the newspapers this morning. The I newspaper, the PM plans a bonfire of EU laws to appease rebel MPs. Well, Boris took us out of the EU, and with various promises. And one was that there would be reform of some of the ways that we would live under legislation which we consider to be nonsense for this country. And so, at long last, Boris has said, yes, we're going to do that. We're now going to take a look. And in particular, the couple of things that I thought was important for everybody is that amongst those is the tax, uncomplicated tax. And health and safety. How many times have you found that you can't do something because of health and safety? That's what Boris plans to do. The Guardian, Home Office report decries 30 years of racist laws. Apparently, there's an internal inquiry into institutional racism in Britain, I suppose. I'm always very uneasy about these things because I hate to see us judging what goes on based on the way that we saw things 30 years ago. However, if, and this report suggests, there is an era in which we had racial discrimination beyond that which, I mean, you're always going to get a little bit beyond that that's acceptable, if you like. That we do have the Guardian taking a look at it and taking surveys to see how tough the problem is. But one of the things that it says is that it looked very carefully at it's looked very carefully at the situation, and it believes that yes, racism has been prevalent in a lot of things that we do, particularly in immigration, and that we better get our act together. It says that basically our laws are racist. And if you hire somebody to do an independent review, you've got to take what they say. You can't actually turn around and say, "Oh, I'll take a blue storm." The Daily Mirror. They refer, and it's a growing scandal by the look of things. They refer to the weekend chaos with the French and others at the European Championship League final between Liverpool and one of the continental teams. And they were very heavy-handed about it. And the Liverpool fans were put onto cattle pens, apparently, and shuffled forward. And then it was all stopped because they were going to allow certain other sectors, particularly their own people, in. So you can't blame them for that. But generally speaking, is going to these tickets meant the French stewards gave minimal advice, locked up some of the people who were waiting to get in, tear sprayed some of the people. All in all, it was a complete and utter disaster, and several people did get hurt. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one, of course, for you. But for the moment, it gives way to the Metro. Sorry, excuse me, it's the Metro. And their headline is "Seeing Red as being a French card." And they referring, of course, to Liverpool's red shirts. So they're saying, play on words, seeing red at the French farce. But I think that people who were there, shall we say, speak articulately yes, about the bad things that happened, and they believe that they were wronged. They were all right in terms of behaviour. It was not a great deal of misbehaviour, but it was turned into a riot when the riot police got in amongst everybody, and basically he said, "You're the Queen. We need you on the intended partners of some of our people closer to home." I'm rambling, aren't I? Yes. Well, I get that way occasionally. So the Daily Telegraph, the UK opens the door to world's top graduates. Yeah, I mean, all the clever things that are done here aren't necessarily done by Indigenous people. We like to attract to our universities the very top people that we possibly can, so that research and development is done in a very, very good way. Part of the problem recently has been that the visas that these academics require, these young brains require, have been subject to restrictive legislation, partly caused by the the restrictions on our immigration policies, but also that we're in a bit of a mess at the moment in terms of our own laws, and that needs to be sorted out fairly quickly. The Daily Mail, 12 million to share Jubilee lunch with the Queen. Well, get yourself ready, because we're now in the home straight leading up to Thursday's big presentation and party, and to all people who are living here in these cozy islands. And there are some who resist certain parts of this sharing with the Queen because they're basically anti-monarchists, but they've got to leave that alone. They can't interfere with the fun and the enjoyment that others are going to have who are not of similar persuasion. Yeah. Oh, what else? The Jubilee lunch. Apparently, there's some 200. Let's get the figures right. 12 million people are set to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee at street parties, with more than 200,000 special toe special pieces at home. And all this is going to take place on Sunday. The Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall and the Earl and Countess of Wales will have to be on their best behaviour. The little video we showed at the beginning of this program, it will be shown on that day. We are not broadcasting regularly at our regular slot. We need to get our act together too, and it's been absolute hell. And I really appreciate and say publicly to those people who have helped me and Mirador Television to sort out a few things, which before all small businesses. I'm very grateful to them, and it's kept us going. The Sun, making a return, it says. Harry and Meghan now once back into the fold. We were all told never would happen, that they'd close the door, and so on and so forth. But I suppose it is one of those things where the Queen can argue, it's my family and I'll do as I want to. So Meghan and Harry are making noises in the background to see whether some of the things that they missed can be reinstated to he and his wife. And he trying to pretend that he's not such a bad chap after all. And the Star. The Star goes with perhaps the saddest but the nicest story of the lot. And that is Lester Piggott, who died over the weekend. He was aged 86, I think. Yes, aged 86. And he really was a very famous horseman, if you like. To those people from whom the generation. Hello. Good morning. There's my lovely Jane. She's on late this week, so I came in this morning and there she was not there, which very disappointing, Jane. Very disappointing. But there we are. Let's see that beautiful smile. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, there's that beautiful smile.
Just for you.
Oh, thank you, darling. Okay, so Lester Piggott has died. He actually, I've seen some clips. He actually rode horses at Lewis Racecourse when it was operational, and that was some era when we had the racecourse here. But he rode here in Lewis, and a very fine man, I understand. One of those people that handled fame extremely well. So that's it. Let's be as the who is it? It's the Daily Star says Piggott gallops home, and not a bad way. I'm losing track of where we are. So it's 10:35. Well, that's not too bad. We did have a little bit of trouble with the turnaround this morning, so we haven't been particularly efficient, shall we say. Let's see what we got in the video line that we might play. It's of interest. I've been playing this a couple of times, and I think we might just play it this one last time because it's about Jack Fuller. And Jack Fuller was a patriot, if you like, is known as Mad Jack. And he had his money from slavery, and of course, and he was an advocate of slavery. He didn't believe that slavery was a bad thing. He saw it as a way to amass his fortune because he got cheap labor. But he was very much a homegrown character. He was an MP for Lewis for a number of years, and he, through his good works, supported Davy's Miner's Lamp, the Eastbourne Lifeboat, the Eastbourne Lighthouse, and very significantly Faraday, whose experimentation led to the first television signals being developed, and it was something called a Faraday's cage. Anyway, that was Jack Fuller, Mad Jack, because he was eccentric in many, many ways. But let's a couple of the boys tell the story.
I always find it strange how two people can experience and view a place in completely different ways.
Jack Fuller was born into money, and at the age of 20 he moved to Brightling in East Sussex after inheriting land and a fortune from his uncle Rose. At the age of 22, Fuller became the Member of Parliament for Southampton. Fuller lost his seat after a vicious row over his support for slavery. This was the time when he began to focus more on his estate and his love of combining art and science.
I moved down from Glasgow to Sussex when I was 9 years old, and that would be in 2003. I first saw the Follies when my granddad was driving me through Brightling, and I remember looking at them and just asking him what these strange buildings were.
Jack Fuller was affectionately known as Mad Jack by local residents who did not understand his fascination with useless buildings. A folly is a building with no purpose other than decoration. The first of Jack's 6 follies was the summer house. Jack was a keen gambler, and he entered into a wager that he could see the spire of Dallington Church from his window. Upon realising that he was mistaken, he quickly constructed the sugarloaf to very effectively mimic the church spire.
I looked out of my girlfriend's window and I saw this strange building in the distance, and I asked her, what is this strange building? And she replied that it was the Sugarloaf. The first time I went, I remember I took my girlfriend there and I gave her a love letter.
The Rotunda Temple was built to hold artwork, most notably paintings commissioned from J.M.W. Turner. Jack was a philanthropist, and during an economic depression, he hired hundreds of local labourers to build a huge wall around his estate. However, the wall did not stop trespassers.
We all thought the temple was full of art, and I was a bit shocked to find out that there was none. All I found when I first went in was graffiti left from the Canadian Air Force that was stationed on the estate during the Second World War.
The temple is the motif for the internationally renowned Breitling horse trials, which brings in competitors and spectators from all walks of life. The Hermit's Watchtower was built so that Jack could survey his land and have views of the sea.
The tower was my special place. I used to go there when I was feeling a bit down or I had to clear my mind. As you go up the stairs, on the right-hand side, my girlfriend's initials are still there. Mine, well, are not there anymore. When I was feeling alone, I would go to the top of the tower, I would lie down, I would stare through the open roof. I'd wait for nightfall, and then I would look at all the stars. Yeah, I would wonder what my place on this earth is. Why I was here, and I would also wonder why the Follies are here. And you know, it dawned on me that the Follies aligned almost with the stars, and it feels like some of them are there to replicate Orion's belt, others are there to, you know, to be individual stars, like the observatory would be Betelgeuse. I've heard some people argue that the observatory is not a folly as it serves a purpose, but don't all the follies serve a purpose? They serve our local history, our culture. When I first came to Sussex from Glasgow, I was such an outsider. People had no idea what I was saying, and I had to get something to point me in the right direction.
The obelisk dominates the landscape and is the second highest point in Sussex.
I remember looking up at the needle and realising that it pierces the vast, uninterrupted sky.
Jack Fuller commissioned the pyramid to be his mausoleum 24 years before his death. This immense structure draws attention away from the Thomas à Becket church, in whose graveyard it stands.
I've heard that Jack was buried in the pyramid sitting up in his armchair, with a glass of claret and a roast chicken dinner in front of him. The Follies are all focal points, but don't let them fool you. Their place in the landscape belies their size and their distance. In the beginning I was hungry to consume them, and I had rushed to each one in turn. But a short distance turned into a mile, a run into a trek, At last, I grew to love the surroundings and adopted the follies as guides rather than destinations.
Jack Fuller was respected by many as a squire who, at a time of extreme poverty, when soldiers were returning from the Napoleonic War, did what he could to provide employment and prevent revolution. He was ridiculed by others for his views on slavery and his obsession with erecting follies while people were going hungry.
Fuller's follies are an important part of my life and have helped me to find my place. I know many people have followed this path before I have, and I love nothing better than bringing new people to experience them and to fall in love like I did.
Well, once again, a student presentation, and a rather nice one. I've been fascinated by Mad Jack Fuller ever since I saw his pyramid in Breitling churchyard, and fascinated by the entire story. So I actually did do a little bit of research because I wrote some articles on him for Town and County magazine when that magazine was excellent in this community. Incidentally, Louisian, a well-known Louisian, a long-time Louisian, Rupert Lloyd Thomas, who went off to Canada but has come back. For the moment, he's living in Wiltshire. But his wife has written a book on Mad Jack Fuller, and I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but if you Google Fuller, I'm sure that it will show the title and the availability of this book. It's a good one, and he is a worthy topic, as it were. Okay, now one of the things that we have to be very careful about is the interpretation of items and effects. And one of the things that we have in this neck of the woods, as it were, is the priory. It's called Lewis Priory, but in fact, it really is the Priory of St. Pancras. And it took a very key part. It was built in 1069, or it started in 1069, virtually just a couple of years after the Battle of Hastings. It got cracking very quickly. And it was at the behest of the wife of the boss of this area, William de Varenne, and his wife, being somewhat of a religious nature, saw one of these Cluniac monasteries in operation in France, and decided we should have one here. And so a monastery was built. Very sad that we now only see the stark inner walls of the priory, because it was pulled down at the dissolution of the monasteries by Thomas Cromwell, really, on behalf of Henry VIII. There's enough of it left standing that you get the sense of history and that what these monks did. And it is known as the Priory of St. Pancras. And during the war, the Battle of Lewes, was where some of the action took place, because the king had quartered himself there. In its day, all we've got now is just a few broken bones. But in its day, the cathedral or the chapel, the church, dominated the town. It was huge. For those people who want a comparison, it was bigger and better than Chichester Cathedral. And Chichester Cathedral is reasonably impressive. So the presence in the town of the priory was very important to its growth. And you can wander down, you can take a look. You don't need anything special. There's no charge to get into the grounds. You really have to be a historian to see it. I don't think it's the sort of thing that kids would get too excited about right now. But it's recollections, its memories, very sound and safe, and particularly with the fact that nothing will happen to the priory. I don't think it's there forever. Okay, where are we? It's 10:54. Wow, the time is rollicking by. Right. Okay. What else might we have? Well, let's just take a look at our view of war.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the seas? And how many years can some people exist before they are allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Yes, a little commentary, if you like, on war and what's happening. I find it disappointing that we have decided that this war isn't that important at the moment. There's all the rush to look after the refugees. But the thing is getting worse, if not better. But where are we now in terms of reporting it? Where are we now in terms of helping? Yeah, there are some good things that have been done by various people, including those in this town. But it has dropped out of the headlines. It has dropped out of the conscious. And when that happens, you don't get the support that you normally do. Why we have decided communally, the media, to dry up on the war, I have no idea. It's having a profound effect on our lives. This morning, one of the headlines is that we are likely to have power outages in the coming winter because Russia, upset at our attitude towards its invasion of Ukraine, is cutting back and back and back on the amount of fuel it will sell us. It has to be careful, of course, because it can't be totally self-sufficient. Good morning. We have some lovely gentlemen here taking a look around. Good morning.
Hi there.
How are you?
Thank you.
So it's very nice that the activity in this hotel continues on a day-to-day basis. And we sit here and we can hear the hubbub of conversation and the laughter and the giggles coming from the lounge next door as people have an early morning coffee or occasionally even have a glass of wine. And the buzz and the hubbub is terrific. It is now 10:58, coming up to 11 o'clock. We probably won't go much after 11 this morning. But just let me once again remind you that now on Friday is the main effort is that there's a service of Thanksgiving at St. Paul's in London. Undoubtedly, it will be on television. But the service starts at 11:30, and will include a new anthem by Judith Weir, Master of the Queen's Music, with words from the 3rd chapter of the Book of Proverbs. Afterwards, the Lord Mayor will host a reception at the Guildhall, with royals arriving from 12:25. I have to say that I haven't got my invite yet. Oh well, whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-dee. Saturday, June the 4th. The Derby at Epsom Downs. Now that has escaped me, and I think escaped many probably. That we have the Derby running, and it is smack bang in the middle of the celebrations. The royals are expected to attend. The famous race takes place around 4:30, and 40 of the Queen's past, and present jockeys will form a guard of honour. Well, now that's a unique thing, and what a pity that Lester Piggott has died today. I'm sure that's something that he would have been proud to have seen happen at Epsom. And there's a party at the Palace. Oh, dear me, on Saturday. A spectacular lineup of stars will perform at a concert near the Victoria Memorial, which is outside Buckingham Palace. There are 22,000 tickets, but a further 100,000 are expected to be made available on the ballot itself. Millions are expected to watch from 8 to 10 p.m. when the concert is broadcast live. So there you are. That's another thing for you to get your teeth into. Sunday, June the 5th, and the last day of the celebrations is a big Jubilee lunch. And more than 16,000 street parties are planned, and more than 60,000 people have registered to host community lunches across the country. There'll also be 600 big Jubilee lunches across the Commonwealth and even outside the Commonwealth itself. And then the Jubilee pageant, an ambitious 3-hour pageant will transform the streets of London with a vibrant display of endeavour. So there we are. That's from here until Sunday. Quite a lot happening. And most of it televised. We will actually not be televising on Thursday and Friday. We just don't have the resources to do justice to big things. So better leave it to the big broadcasters to carry on. 11:03. If I can, I shall just play a little. A little video that we did. That indicated what let's try that one just to see whether in fact it is it's not properly labeled. That's the trouble. But to show what we're doing in this. Yeah. Here we are from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, and I'm happy to say that we have been part of the build-up. I'm not quite sure what's happening tomorrow. We are very flexible and very loose because what we want to do is to encourage people to drop by and have a chat. We're going to get a little sign outside pretty soon so that we can let people know that this is an opportunity to come in and have their say. Have their say. And I think that that's the most important element of what we're doing. Yes, we're here to try and inform you and entertain you, get bits and pieces out of the way. But basically, we are a channel for information. And we have had already some interesting people who just happened to have been in the hotel, and we said, "Oi, come and have a word." And they have. So now we're saying to Louisians, "Oi, come and have a word." And I hope you will. So that's what we're all about. Mirador Television. Mirador Television. Out of Lewes in the United Kingdom. Right, I think that probably we've had enough for today. It is 8 minutes past 11. Actually, despite the fact there has been some traffic here in the hotel this morning, it's a bit of a quiet one for it. And we haven't had quite the bubble that Monday brings. I think a lot of people are in holiday mode. They've thought of it as a week off, particularly as we're so used to long weekends, but this one has got it's more a short week. As today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then we all kick off on the celebrations. We're all looking forward to it. Ah, come on, let's play our little Grange Park. I just love this one. And that's it. That's it for this Monday morning. It's 10 minutes past 11 a.m. on the 30th of May in the year 2022. Outside, it's going to be quite modest today, although it is going to be sunny, and the temperature will hit 15 degrees. But tomorrow, we can add 5 degrees on that. And for the entire period of the Jubilee celebrations, the forecast is for some very decent weather. Warm, not much rain, pleasant, and the sort of weather to get us out into the good old fresh air, to have our picnics and such. So that's it for today. Thank you for being with us, and we will be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, with Rouser Radio at 7:30. followed by Break an Egg, which is a bit more serious than this broadcast. Break an Egg at 8:30. That's a look at the newspapers, the headlines, and comment and analysis. And then we will be off on a jag, and we'll see. Hopefully, Fergus will be back, our wine man, and we can catch up on what's happening in the wine world. So until tomorrow morning, thank you for being with us. Thank you for putting up with the anomalies, because not everything went right this morning. But then cock-ups is what makes the world go round. Let's face it, we've got a government that's made as many cock-ups as I've seen in a long time, and it certainly hasn't hurt them. So hopefully the cock-ups that you see on here won't hurt us, and that we'll be your favourite for a long time to come. Until tomorrow, we will say toodle toodle pip.